Stories from the heart, stories honest and true, the one, the only, the human canvas you. Hello and welcome to The Human Canvas, the podcast where we explore our unique lived experiences, exploring the lives of people from all walks, diving into their unique journeys, their challenges, their passions, and the moments that have shaped who they are today. I'm your host, Nicholas Graham Hall, and today I'm honored to welcome podcast host of Ride the Vibe, Michael Litten, to the podcast. I'm here with my longtime acquaintance. I would call you a friend. I think if I reached out, you would answer my call. Here with Michael Litten. We've known each other through a particular thread, through premature birth. Now, I know that some people that know me know that I had twins born prematurely on Thanksgiving Day in 2006. Michael, so that's how we originally connected. I don't recall actually where the foundation that you created. Like I don't recall actually kind of how that came to be, but we can talk a little bit about that. But I also know that you have lived and continue to live a bright and colorful life. So that's part of the purpose here. Is like I know you're just like a total music maven, and I've really gotten into music as a songwriter here later in life. So I definitely want to talk about that. But so there's just a lot of threads that I think we could go down. But can you remind me of the name of the foundation that that supported had supported the area of prematurity, and kind of how that came to be?
So Foundation for Premature Infants.
Right.
And well, Graham's foundation is focused on parents, right?
Yep.
Foundation for Premature Infants focused on providing continuing education for clinicians that care for these most fragile, vulnerable people, like your twins.
Yeah, Reese and Graham. Yeah.
Yeah. So the birth of it, I was fortunate enough to be working with Children's Medical Ventures, which was in the beginning, in its nascent stages, Graham, it was a startup and had products specific for premature infants. So all the products for the full-term baby don't work, as you well know, having had.
Yep.
They don't work. Pacifiers, they're too big. Diapers, too big. And trying to put that square peg in the round hole can lead to all sorts of harmful outcomes. Like, for example, a diaper for a full-term baby put on a premature baby whose hips are not formed can displace the hips and cause all sorts of long-term problems. So Children's Medical Ventures founded with these products that were developed by clinicians for premature babies. So very cool. And then
you got involved in that organization.
Yes, as their manager of educational programs.
Gotcha.
So we would,
and that folded into like GE or
well, yes. So Children's Medical Ventures got bought by Respironics, and then Respironics was bought by Philips, and at the time, its largest acquisition. Yes, and then it all went downhill from there.
That happens from time to time when a small guppy gets acquired by a whale.
Yeah.
The guppy can get lost.
Correct. We were all right under Respironics, but once Philips came in, but at any rate, so we would go out, Nick, and bring in clinicians who were practicing in the field. So we had a group of very, very talented clinicians who also had a passion for teaching. So my team would go out and sell a hospital on the idea of bringing in a feeding program or a quality improvement program. And then we would bring these clinicians in from Cincinnati Children's or wherever it would be, and they'd do the program. And one of our most popular programs was Preemie for a Day, where we would take adult learners, like what it would, to replicate what it, on an adult scale, what it would be like to be a premature baby, assaulting them with noise,
Yeah.
coming at them with 16 different caregivers all trying to do their thing. And the poor, adult is like, and then we're going, well, think how a premature baby is reacting to all of this.
Yeah.
And they would go away going, wow, I have a whole epiphany. My voice level right now in a NICU, as you know all too well, would be way, way too loud because they're in an incubator. The sound reverberates, so all of it, light levels, sound levels, etc.
Yeah.
And invariably what I would hear is, man, Michael, we'd love to do your program, but we don't have any money.
Of course. There's no budget.
No budget.
No budget. Yeah.
So I said, wow, well, what if I start a foundation for premature infants that raises money to provide continuing education? Philips came to me, and that by this time Philips has acquired Children's or Respironics, and they said, Michael, you've got two choices. We see this as a conflict of interest. So you can either shut down your foundation or find another job. Well, at the time I needed the employment, so I just sort of put the foundation on a back burner.
Gotcha.
And then ended up leaving Philips, or Philips left me. However that works, Nick. But at the time you and I met, we were kind of on the circuit of the NICU Leadership Foundation, which was a spinoff of Children's Medical.
Yep.
And we were going there pitching, whatever.
Yeah. Thank you. That, by the way, we since about 2017, I've been going by Nicholas, but I, of course, but it shares it. Some people, they'll know how long we've known each other because.
Yeah. Well, I'll try to catch myself up.
Yeah, but no, it's all good.
And we won't share the story of how we really bonded, because that would be, inappropriate.
Don't worry, people. There was nothing that would have gotten us into trouble with the police.
Yes, that's true.
Right?
Yes.
Nothing illegal, just embarrassing.
Yeah, just embarrassing. For me, mostly.
There was some good dancing going on.
Yeah, exactly.
So was that work of kind of continuing education, was that part of a thread in your career, in your vocation, or was that actually something quite different at the time for you?
But both, Nicholas. It really, I started in right out of college in healthcare, or I call it disease care now, because there is no health in healthcare. But I was blessed to start with American Hospital Supply. So American Hospital Supply was a really revered company out of Chicago. Foster McGaw, the founder, and we carried everything from hypothermia units to Band-Aids and everything in between, 30,000 products. So I got to touch all the different departments in the hospital. And then, that I maintained a career in healthcare, and Children's Medical just happened to be the next progression
along the journey.
Yes, correct.
Michael, where are you from? Where are you from?
I'm a product of corporate transfers. So father worked for Westinghouse Electric Corporation. So born in Milwaukee, Cleveland, San Francisco, Pittsburgh, Chicago,
really
Kalamazoo, Boulder.
Oh man, you're a Midwest boy like me.
Yes, basically. Yes. Born and raised, born in Milwaukee.
Yeah. Milwaukee has become a favorite summertime spot for me. I hit Summerfest. I've hit Summerfest the last, four summers now.
Oh, I love it.
I know it has quite a reputation.
Yes.
Right? And I just think it's the best. I love it. I love, the location's great, 6 stages, all these different genres, bands that have been around forever, bands that you've never heard of, mix in a little bit, give some local bands an opportunity to get a little bit of stage time. and it's very much for primarily for local,
Yep.
folks there in Milwaukee, and they I just they have all those. It's reasonable, and it's just fun. So
The
yeah,
best.
I've made an annual trip.
Pilgrimage.
Yes, a pilgrimage to Milwaukee in the art museum.
Yeah.
Being an artist now, the art museum is right there next to all the music, and I mean the art museum itself, for anyone here listening, if you get a chance to go to Milwaukee, the art museum. I mean, it's like a lot of it's similar to other Midwest sized town museums.
Yeah.
It has a wonderful collection, and but it's something that you can see it in an afternoon.
Yeah.
Take it in. The museum itself is beautiful, and the architect has escaped me for the moment, but it's beautiful. It kind of looks like a ship.
That would stand to reason on the Great Lakes.
Yeah, and it's right on Lake Michigan, so
Yeah.
it's beautiful. But Milwaukee, Kalamazoo, I know that, Western Michigan. I grew up in Northwest Ohio near Toledo.
Yep.
So I know
Cleveland.
Cleveland
Yeah.
very well.
You ever get up to where I call home, Door County, Sturgeon Bay, when you get to Milwaukee? Do yourself a favor and extend your trip. It's just 2 hours north. They call it the Cape Cod of the Midwest.
Cape Cod of the Midwest.
Totally surrounded by water. So Lake Michigan, Green Bay.
Beautiful. Yes. Noted. Now the last one that I heard was Boulder.
Yes.
Now is that did you go to school there?
Yes. CU, Boulder, yep.
Right on, the Buffaloes.
A great 4 years in a great time from 73 to 77. So you talk about a hotbed for burgeoning music.
I was gonna say I want like that, and I want to talk about music because I know that's a big part of your life. Actually, one of my good friends, he lives in the Toledo area where I lived for a number of years. Scott McIntyre. He went to Colorado. Big music head. You two guys need to meet each other.
Yeah.
He's in a pod, but and I was probably at Boulder 12 years ago.
Yeah.
I can imagine it was a lot of fun back in the 70s. I mean, I'm sure it's fun now, but I'm sure it was just great.
Yes. And the thing I have to admit, but I'm kind of embarrassed to admit, is in my 4 years there, I never got to Red Rocks, Nicholas.
Well, was it yet a thing?
Well, that's the justification, because my best friend Peter Perkins, who's a musician, and both of us never got there.
Yeah.
And what we use to justify that, to your question, is that we were in school on a Pulper's budget.
Yeah.
And there weren't, so during most of the shows, they were very minimal back then, 73, 77. So there weren't a lot. It wasn't as popular as by a light years. And the shows were when we were back home. We were we're not there.
Right.
So I'm rectifying that though. In a month, I'm going to see the Revivalists, one of my all-time favorite bands out of New Orleans.
Have you been to a show in Red?
This will be the first. Yes.
Get out of town.
So not a bucket list, but I gotta go. So I'm going.
It is a beautiful, and I got to go there. During in my work life, I was working for PwC, and it was the SAP sales conference, and they were a partner that I was part of the management of.
Yeah.
This was great. So normally, you go to this big, big kind of conference events, and they tend to get, musical acts for one night, right?
Yeah.
And they tend to be sort of musical acts that pretty safe. That everybody's going to kind of know, and especially
America, Journey, Foreigner.
Yeah, it exactly. Well, there was a scheduling conflict, and apparently there was already a concert scheduled for the night of the entertainment,
Yeah.
and it happened to be Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young
Whoa.
when Neil put out his Living with War album.
Oh my gosh.
So half the show was Crosby, Stills, Nash
Yeah.
and Young. The other half was Neil Young, Living with War.
Oh my
This
God.
was, George Bush era,
Yeah. Very. Yeah. Not
right?
safe. Yes.
This is a SAP PWC,
Wow.
So there was a whole disclaimer when we got on the bus, that
And it was at Red Rocks?
it was at Red Rocks.
So they took you up. Oh my
Yeah,
God.
yeah. So we
Wow.
were there, 500 of us, 1,000, whatever. But we were there with an entire, like everybody else, right? So we didn't have the whole
Right.
venue,
Yeah.
but it was
Wow.
it was great.
Oh my God.
I loved it. I loved it because I love
Yes,
Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young. I love Neil Young.
of course.
So I was loving it. Most of the people, most of my peers are a little bit more conservative than me, so they were just kind of like, I don't,
But they had to stay because they were on a bus.
yeah. And I actually I knew the album. I was probably the
Yeah.
only person there that really knew that.
Right. Oh, that's awesome.
It was fun.
Well, I'm stoked.
So-
I'm looking forward to it. I can't wait.
Tell me about so I mean, I know your tagline. Tell me your tagline in your email.
Oh, The Last DJ.
So
A shout out to the late, great Tom Petty. And for those that haven't heard that song or that album, highly, highly recommend it. But basically, there's a fantastic book by the late Jim Ladd, Radio Waves, speaking at the, I don't know, frequency of FM or something. But Jim Ladd was a DJ in LA and was famous for playing, back in the day, and what I apologize for that phone. I don't know how to mute it.
It won't show. It's so quiet. We'll be.
Oh, okay, cool. But at any rate, he was famous for playing what he wanted to play, saying what he wanted to say back in the day when DJs could do that. They could play thick as a brick from start to finish. They weren't dictated to by all these pinhead accountant, etc. So Petty knew Ladd, obviously, and that song, "The Last DJ," as I understand the history, is in big part, a tribute to Jim Ladd.
Gotcha.
So I adopted that for my podcast, Ride the Vibe, which is focused on featuring musicians like yourself. So musicians that have original music, not covers. I don't do, musicians with cover music. Well, I mean, if you played a cover, yes, that's fine. But I don't focus on cover bands or tribute bands or that kind of thing.
And so tell me, when did that, let's just talk about your love, like your music, if you're willing to sort of, do the Ride the Vibe podcast. I mean, it's had to have been an instrumental part of your life. So I'm just, wherever you want to start with music and its importance to you and, in your life, and when do you remember like being influenced, and what's been your what's been your sort of involvement in?
Yeah. So it's, I was blessed. We're living in Cleveland, Ohio. I'm in middle of 7th grade. And the family says, we're moving to California.
Oh.
67. I'm like, sign me up. From Cleveland to San Francisco. So we moved to the Bay Area, Lafayette, which is just outside of Oakland.
Yeah.
House has got a pool, as 80% of the neighborhood did, kind of thing. It's a ranch. I'm on the end, in what was, I guess, maybe the maid's quarters at one time. Not a big house, but, just the way it was laid out. So I've got my own wing, my own egress and ingress. And the old man, he's with Westinghouse, right?
Yeah.
So probably like a lot of families back then, we had this, console setup. So it's a piece of furniture, had 12-inch subwoofers in the or woofers in the sides. It's got mid-range, some tweeters in the middle. It's got the turntable and the AM FM, all in one.
I just saw one. I just saw one. I can't remember the brand, but it was made in, let's say, Grand Rapids.
Yeah.
They were made where people where furniture was made.
Yes, of course. It was a
These
piece
were
of
pieces
furniture.
of furniture.
Yes.
They're beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah, unbelievable. And the sound, because these woofers and the mid-range, and at any rate, he had it, and he got an 8-track player. This is like, again, 68, 69, something like that.
That's
So I
early.
was in California, in Northern California, and my first 8-tracks are like Sly and the Family Stones' Greatest Hits, Creedence's Willie and the Poor Boys, Zeppelin's 1 and 2, Santana, because of that, Santana and Grateful Dead and Creedence all in that area, but heavily influenced by that.
Now, was this your parents' collection?
No, they didn't. He just bought the unit, or
Yeah.
he was given the unit because Westinghouse Electronics or this or that.
Yeah.
So my first experience were 8-tracks.
Well, where did they? But so the reason why I ask is I'm the oldest.
Yeah.
And like my parents had a record player they had a record player.
Yeah.
But they didn't. I mean, they didn't have any. I think they had Melissa Muldar. I think they had,
yeah. That's interesting you asked, though, because the one album I was, of course, like all adolescent boys, fascinated with was Herb Alpert's Tijuana Brass, with the beautiful brunette on the cover, covered in, whipped cream. But the backstory is it wasn't whipped cream because whipped cream under the hot lights would melt. So it was actually shaving cream. And she had a suit on. But at any rate, that was what my parents had, that kind of album.
Yeah. So did you have older siblings, or did you?
No, I'm the oldest. Yeah.
So you actually were bringing this music in yourself?
Yes.
You must have had a nice allowance or lawn work or something.
Yeah, cleaning pools.
Yeah. Something, because
Yeah, and 8-tracks. I don't remember back how much they went for back then, but when I'd get a trough of money, I'd go buy 2 or 3, and when they weren't home, could crank it up loud, really loud.
But that's still, I mean, at that age, that's still, you were like. Now, do you think
14.
were you influenced by friends or the radio, or do you remember like where? Because again, if I think of when I think 7th, 8th grade, I was not that mature in my
That's a great question. I guess it would. I don't recall really listening to the radio, so I think it probably was the peers in school that were either in bands, forming bands, because it was just, you think about that time frame. So it's the Fillmore West. Now I'm too young. Haight-Ashbury, I'm 13, 14, and I'm up in Lafayette, so I'm not driving. But there was so much of that influence that it had to spill over.
Yeah, I mean, you're just you're in the Bay Area. There's so again, it's kind of like the Bay Area today. It's like technology startups are
right.
You people probably know more about them than the average bear.
Right.
Just being there and just what people are kind of just generally talking about. And there's just a lot of obviously music.
I would say more just by osmosis.
Now, have you always have you been a fan of? Have you gotten yourself directly involved in the study of or the making of or production, etc.?
Only on the promotion sales side, marketing side. So, we moved then back to Pittsburgh.
Pittsburgh. I don't know if you spent much, any time there recently. That's
Yeah,
great.
booming. Yeah, booming.
Now it's got
For me, in 75, 76, it was a big downer when they came to us and said, we're leaving California. We're going to Pittsburgh.
yeah.
It's like, oh, geez, oh, Pete, because Pittsburgh then was really just coming out of the steel, and it was gloomy and dark. And I remember winters were miserable.
High inflation. It was just generally
not good.
A downer time. So yeah.
Interestingly, Nicholas, it at the time, and I'll get this statistic wrong, but it was like third or fourth on the list of cities with the most major corporations. So Westinghouse, U.S. Steel, Alcoa, all were headquartered. Gulf Oil were all headquartered there. So we moved back, and I was fortunate enough to be asked to promote these church dances for the Presbyterian Church. So I would book the music, I would go out and put the posters up, to the point where it got so popular that they told me to cool it. Because it was, they go, we appreciate the money you're bringing in for, this church camp, but you're overwhelming our infrastructure, police, and I'll tell you, this was funny. A guy came to me and he said, hey man, I do a light show. I said, wow, that'd be kind of cool, because I was into lights. Well, the light show back again, this is like 76, 77, or excuse me, 71, 72, 73, in that time frame. The light show consisted of really only a strobe light. And a little bit of strobe light goes a long way. A lot of strobe light is way, so after the first concert, people came to me and said, man, you gotta cut that strobe out. And it was really hard getting chaperones, because the parents, they didn't really want to participate. But yeah, we did the music for this.
So have you continued, or has with the being involved in music in some way, shape, or form, has that sort of always been a thread in your life, or has there been?
Yeah, I'm an addict. I'm a music addict. I have like 20,000 songs on my hard drive. So that's, almost, and that's just digitized, not including cassettes and albums and 8-tracks that have gone the wayside. But in college, I was able to get connected with the program council in Boulder, and there wasn't a music event on campus that we didn't put on, all the way from the big stadium show with Fleetwood Mac and Bob Seger and John Sebastian, to Firefall at Mackey, to a very drunk and a very obnoxious Warren Zevon in another venue, But so we did all of the music on campus. So I was able to be involved in that.
And what about post? So it begs the question, you're addicted to it, you're doing all this promotion. How on earth did you try to, do that did you try as a career post college?
Yeah.
Or was it, did you go the pragmatic?
Yes. I grew up, the old man, 40 years, retired, one company, Westinghouse, blah, blah, blah. So yeah, I had the opportunity to stay in Boulder and continue to work promoting and doing that sort of thing, but at a very minimal wage kind of thing. And this American Hospital Supply job was very highly coveted. I was blessed to be picked. Why, I don't know. But so it wasn't too much of a question that I was going to go follow the corporate route. And I'd always wanted to be a doctor. but quickly realized that I didn't have the intelligence to be a doctor. So selling in healthcare, was like, that was the best. I had the best of all worlds. I'm in the hospital, in surgery, interacting with doctors, but,
Right.
don't have any of the hassles that they had.
Right.
Oh.
Yeah, interesting. It's like oftentimes when you'll hear when they'll interview musicians, often they'll say, "Well, it's this or bussing dishes."
Right.
Kind of like they whether for whatever reason, um, that point in their life, the options seemed few and
Well,
far.
it's so tough. I mean, you know it all too well, but it's a very, I, now I'm into my 8th season with Ride the Vibe. 95% of the musicians that I've had on the show all still have day jobs.
Yeah, it's it's not.
And I mean, they'll hear this and they'll probably agree. They're not going to make it. They're not going to be the next big thing.
That's not how. Yeah, the system is not. The system isn't set up. It's not designed
Not anymore.
for that, right?
No.
And depending on your particular talent or interest or inclination, like any industry, there's a lot of different ways and places that you can participate. I mean, your example of I wanted to be a doctor, the chemistry or whatever, some part of you decided it wasn't for me, but I
Yeah.
liked the opportunity to be able to participate, contribute, be a part of the solution, so to speak, right? So I'm sure there are plenty of musicians that become recording engineers,
Yep.
I mean, they can be in the business, right? I mean, they can find a way to be in the business. And for some people it's like, no, I need to play that instrument. Like
Well, like you talked about before we came on the show, you go out and do 2, 3, 4 gigs a month.
yeah,
Almost again, 90% of these cats that have come on Ride the Vibe, they're out gigging as much as they can. They got their day job or whatever, but their passion, their love, their need to express
yeah,
themselves, even if it's just in a bar with 1 or 2 people,
yeah.
that they're going to do it.
Yeah, I mean our system, our the system that we have in this country currently is it doesn't naturally recognize the value of the artist.
Sadly.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't agree more because artistic expression is so, I mean, it's a healer, it's a communicator. I mean, um, and it's, yeah, I mean, as we all know, you go and listen to the band, and people will spend more money uh, on alcohol and on drinks and stuff than on the ticket in the band, right? And
Yeah,
I mean, there's so many things that are sort of seems odd and upside down, but it's like
it is what it is. Yeah.
what it is. So, is tell me about with the podcast. What was the Tell me how did that tell us all about it, what it is, the format, and how that came about.
So I'll start at the how it came about and then work forward because it has evolved. So back in 2016, I was suing the mayor of Roswell, Jerry Wood,
I remember I
and
remember that.
at
What
the
was
time, so Roswell was like the 7th, 6th largest city in the state, and
right?
it only had 2 mayors in 50 years. a good old boy, Pug Mabry, for 30, and then another good old boy, Jerry Wood, for 20.
So
And
I guess there are no term limits.
exactly. Well, he ran in 1998, it's 1997. He runs on term limits. That's his pledge, because he's running against this incumbent of 30 years. So that, I'm all over that. I'm like, yeah, man, that's great. So I campaigned heavily for him. And then in 2005, he betrayed that and he runs again. And so I ran as a write-in, just symbolically, to say, come on, Jerry, you made a commitment. Term limits, that resonated with me. You betrayed it. Then come 2016, he's actually, in fact, because my litigation prevailed. I say mine, the lawyer, John Monroe, gets the credit. I just happen to be the face of it. But at any rate, we proved that he was violating the term limit verbiage that he put in place, his own verbiage. He was violating it. The judge ruled in our favor. And so through the course of that, I get invited on a podcast through United Intentions Foundation to talk to me about the litigation and this and that. And then I knew, Nicholas, that if my litigation failed, Jerry would be imperious, right? So already the Grand Cabeza, but if he won, he would have gone on and been unchallenged. So I was going to run against him, and I declared early, way before the litigation was adjudicated. So I'm in the race against him. Then my litigation prevails. So now it's an open seat. Well, now everybody and their brother jumps in. There ended up being 17 candidates total for 3 city council seats, the mayor. There were 5 of us running for mayor. So I get on this podcast again, and long-winded story of saying it was through that this Tim Ray, the United Intentions Foundation, said, hey, we've got this kind of music thing. It's sort of wallowing over here. It's called Ride the Vibe. Would you be interested in doing it? I go, heck yeah. I'm all over that. Sign me up. Well, I didn't.
Is this a traditional radio station, or?
Yeah, so it had an FM component, but the bandwidth was very limited, maybe 2 listeners, but it did restrict the show to a 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock on a Friday time slot. Well, this is back in 2018. I start the first show, Good Friday. Well, there are no musicians. They're gigging like crazy back then. This is before the whole lockdown stuff, all around. They're gigging. They're not coming in to Ride the Vibe on a Friday. So the show starts with me just basically talking to anybody that would come in to talk to me. And then,
because it was an in studio.
Yeah, they come into the studio. It's got an FM component, and then it evolved to have a Facebook Live component. Yeah. But Facebook, because they're so obnoxious, we'd be playing the artist's original music, and then we'd listen to the post-production, and the song would be blanked out because Facebook said you didn't have the copyright. Well, wait a minute, we got the artist right here. Anyway, so it's evolved, and primarily it's been audio only. And the format, in answer to your question, is it's evolved to the point where I call it a old-fashioned music listening party format. Like you and I'd be sitting around your house, you'd stack the albums on a turntable and just let them drop. And we've got the liner notes, and we're looking at the liner notes, and they had a plethora of information: who's playing bass, where it was recorded, booklets maybe like thick as a brick. Again, you got the whole thing. Well, all that's lost now, right? With the digital age, you don't know anything about anything, who's on it, who's doing, So the format is we'll play 6 of the artist's songs, a couple minutes to tee up the audience to go actually buy it somewhere where the artist can make some money. And then it gives us more room to talk. So the artist and I just chat about all things music, all things related to their recording of their original music.
Ah, right. And so Is it still on the FM or is it sort of in the
So it's now about to the point where it's got a YouTube channel. It's got, all the usual Spotify, Podbean, iTunes, all those usual podcast sites. And it also has had, I've done some shows in a studio that, to say it's a studio, it's really a private event center. So 30-foot stage, a green room, lights and sound, a balcony can hold about 100 people. So this season, I've been able to have artists that are local come into the studio / event center, perform live their songs, and then a couple, and then we augment in the MP3 files into the conversation.
Do you have guests?
Yeah. So guests meaning, in the studio? Yeah. But people, yes, they can be part of the quote unquote studio audience.
Right. Now, are you in Roswell?
Yeah, it's in this Sandbox Studio South is up in north, just right on the Alpharetta Milton border. I'm in Roswell. And then the remote shows I do over to Studio DRS Atlanta, which is in Roswell.
Which is, Roswell, that's all becoming like greater Atlanta.
North, yeah. I mean, Milton, Alpharetta, Johns Creek, Roswell are all this kind of Gold Coast belt, if you will, of affluence, lots of money. But
and how did you end up where you are now?
With the show or with just
physically? No, just physically, because last I left you, you were, I guess you graduated in Colorado and you got the job with American
and went up to Michigan, Kalamazoo. And then came down here and been here 41 years now, Nick. Yeah. Nicholas, sorry.
Really?
Yeah.
So I guess all that moving around.
Yeah. That's enough.
I've had enough.
Now I'm done. I'm settled. Yeah. It's all good.
With the work in with the healthcare thread.
Yeah.
Disease care thread. Have you traveled though a fair bit with working with jobs, or have most of them?
Like when we met, I mean, I was blessed to be traveling, the whole United States on a company expense account. So, I went everywhere. So saw a lot of music along the way.
Right. I know. I'm always
just like, you're situated. I never, I hadn't gotten to Red Rocks, but all these corporate events, they bring me, I got a drumstick from America because they performed at, one of those.
It's like companies paying you to go to this nice location. I'm like, what else fun?
Twist my arm. Yeah.
What else fun and interesting is going on while I'm here?
Yes, of course. Absolutely.
Paid for the flight to get me here.
Yep.
So about how many shows? So is this a weekly? The podcast, is it like a weekly, or is it more often than that?
Yeah, early on it was once a week, and now it's just when the moon and the stars assign when an artist, and I can do it anytime. So I'm not locked in. It's pre-recorded live, so we edit, do post. I don't, but either Wahid Gomes at DRS at Atlanta or Mike Natchez at Sandbox Studio do the post-production stuff. I just show up and try to ask some reasonable questions. Like you.
Where else is your passion for music being expressed? It sounds like going to Red Rocks. So
yeah, we're gonna go to Red Rocks. So I've got there's a new mayoral race. We got another obnoxious incumbent here in Roswell. So last Tuesday, and his opponent opponent had his kickoff event, and I provided the music. So I have two musician friends, Jeannie Karen and Rick Reese. They go as a duo, bass and blade. So Rick's a bass player, Jeannie's singer-songwriter. And they've got a really crazy, unique story, Nicholas. They Rick, back in the 80s, was part of a group called Sonic Joyride out of the New England area. And he and the lead singer, Chris Hobler, they traveled around the country on a bus that opened up with a screen and speakers. Now, this is way, way ahead of its time. And they went to the biggest beer can, Old Style in Milwaukee, the biggest ball of yarn, the biggest cockroach. And they would just open up and play music. And then they got picked up, Kurt Lauder, MTV, because that was a big deal. They were way ahead of their time. Well, Chris Hobler, excuse me, sadly gets diagnosed with ALS and passes. And the band and the music, lay fallow until Rick and Jeannie get together and are now rejuvenating it. And they've just gotten a bus. They did a fundraiser, bought a bus.
Yeah.
They've got a Ride the Vibe magnet sticker on the side now.
Bus is back, baby.
And the Cosmic Sled version 2.0 and Sonic Joyride are going to replicate that original. And the music's great. Rick's Berkeley School of Music guy, very, very talented. And Jeannie, if you think kind of a Janis Joplin-ish.
Yeah.
Boy, singer-songwriter, original music. But yeah, so I, still stay in the promotion kind of mode.
But you're doing it in the rock. You're doing it. You're local. You're very much in the community.
Correct. Now, the Ride the Vibe, the third largest audience, interesting enough, is in Japan.
Huh.
And I've had an artist, Tim Donahue, who makes his own harp guitars. He's from Niagara Falls, but he lives over in Japan, and he's been on the show a couple times. He's just on recently. So we remote him in.
You know the singer-songwriter Tim Easton?
I know the name, but I don't.
Well, he's out of Nashville, and kind of a blues Americana.
Yeah.
And he tours Japan. Like he's actually up in Anchorage, Alaska right now. So he goes there every year. Yeah. He like travels all over. And I heard him. I got to know him. I heard him. He played a gig here in Bloomington. Yeah. But I know that he does like a week or two in Japan every year. Yeah. He's got a little following there. So I don't know if
it's interesting how that, works.
Yeah.
You don't know how or why or whatever. For us, it's Tim Donahue being on the show. He has a lot of fans in Japan.
Well, maybe the stars will align. Another Tim Easton.
Tim Easton will come on the show. Yeah,
doing a house show or something down
there.
So, well, what else is like happening in your life these days that you're excited about, or anything else that you want to talk about or share about?
Well, I'd be remiss if I didn't give a shout out to the amazing Lucy Pillar. I met Lucy in 2018, and Lucy's got a great story, Nick. If you remember Almost Famous, the Rolling Stone, and that was a writer, right, for Rolling Stone, and it follows this band. Well, Lucy is a real modern day Almost Famous, but with a camera. So she's a young lady in England back in the 60s and happens to come across the band Free and gets backstage and says, "Hey, man, you mind if I make pictures, y'all?" "Oh, no, we'd be delighted, of course," right? Paul Rogers, Simon Kirk, Paul Kossoff, Mitch Rawls. So they're, just getting started. No one hardly knows who they are.
Yeah.
She's taking pictures. She goes, "Can I come to your next show?" Yeah, sure. Where is it? They don't even know. Lucy knows. So fast forward, Lucy starts the Bad Company fan club with All Right Now Entertainment, which is her company, her business, and is a big reason that Bad Company will finally be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame this December, November. So Lucy, I say You got the whole, what is it, Chris Bacon? What's that? Bacon, 7 Degrees of Separation.
Oh, Kevin
Yeah,
Bacon,
Kevin
6
Bacon,
degrees.
right? Yeah. With Lucy Pillar, when you're best friends, literally with Paul Rogers and Simon Kirke, you're probably 1 to 2 degrees of separation of knowing every musician on the planet. So Lucy has been a huge part of Ride the Vibe from the standpoint that she's introduced me. I've had Simon Kirke on the show. I've had Steve Rogers, Paul's son, on the show. So Lucy's a huge component, and she's just over the moon, excited that she's going to be sitting next to Paul at the induction.
Oh, she's going to be in Cleveland.
Yeah. Well, they're doing it in LA.
Ah, okay.
Cleveland's the museum of the Hall of Fame, but the ceremony will be in LA.
Right on.
She'll be there. So
she's a friend of yours then?
Yes, we met, and it's been a blessing.
Yeah.
She's amazing.
Right on.
And she's now a U.S. citizen. She just got her citizenship from England.
She's just well, a bunch of U.S. citizens are trying to get citizenship of other countries.
Yeah, well, no, she's here in the U.S. She's been here a long time on a green card, but now she's a citizen. So she's very excited about that. But yeah,
right.
So anyway, that's kind of it.
Now, are you involved at all in health/disease care? Is you shared at all anymore, or are you just looking after yourself these days?
Yeah, that's a full-time job in and of itself, Nick. Do that. The foundation, sadly, and I it's way above my knowledge level, but the biggest source of fundraising for us was Facebook. People would say, "Hey, it's my birthday." I'm sure with Graham's foundation, same, but that's all dried up.
Yeah,
you could put a gun in my head and there'd be no way I could tell you how, why, or how I could figure out how or whatever. But
it just all kind of went away.
Yeah, I think when Meta. But it's interesting to hear you say the same thing, because I'm like, well, do they just target us or what? Or
no.
But you can't figure out why, and I can't get it started back up. So that's sort of, fallen by the wayside. But I will just kind of, one last thing with Ride the Vibe. I was blessed to do a 7th anniversary celebration. So celebrating 7 years. Did it over at the Sandbox Studio South. We had 9 acts that performed. And one of the treats of my life was my very, very good friend from Pittsburgh, high school in Pittsburgh, Peter Perkins. Knew him a little bit. I would call him an acquaintance in high school, because I was only really there 2 years. But then we go out to Boulder together. And he's the friend I referenced that also didn't get to Red Rocks. But Pete has always been a musician like you, Nick, always playing guitar, always performing. And he was in a band out there in Boulder called Bad Bob and the Bombers. So Pete's the front man, the vocalist. Think Elvis, Buddy Holly-ish kind of music. Pete goes back to, after college, and he gets the corporate thing, and he's doing construction. And so his life takes him, off in a different direction like mine did.
Yeah.
Well, I start Ride the Vibe, and then in talking to him, I find out he's put an album out called Better Late Than Never. And the title track is just as the name implies. Yeah. Do it now, better late than never. Some buddies of his said, "You're too talented. You need to put an album out. We'll pay for it." Right. And I won't go into the details, but he's got the late, great Brian Berline playing fiddle. Brian Berline does the fiddle track on Honky Tonk Woman with the Stones. Pete also has Chuck Leavell playing keyboards, because Pete hunts at Chuck's place down in Macon. But at any rate, he puts Better Late Than Never out. And the lyrics of the song basically sing about Pete hoping there'll be a DJ that will play his song on the radio. Well, I hear that song and it's like magic. It's like, oh, sweet Jesus. So that's the intro and the outro for Ride the Vibe. And Pete opened the celebration, the 7th anniversary. So he flew in from Pittsburgh and opened it singing those songs acoustically.
Oh, so he's in Pittsburgh now.
Yeah, he's from and born and raised, and but he flew in for the event, opened the event by singing "Better Late Than Never" live acoustically. So.
See, like that's those are just that's magic.
I was in tears when I'm doing my opening spiel, and it was because all these musicians did it for free.
Yeah.
As a thank you because Ride the Vibe, we don't monetize Ride the Vibe. We have a couple product placement sponsors. Shout out to Cathead Distilleries down in Mississippi.
Yeah.
Real quick story there. So Cathead's the oldest distillery in the state of Mississippi, because Mississippi's the last state in the union to do away with prohibition. Cathead small batch. They got a nice high-end Old Soul whiskey. They got a great honeysuckle vodka small batch. And their tagline is support live music. And they're big in the blues, as you would expect. So we love our relationship with Cathead. So when we have guests on the show that like an adult beverage, we have to sample some of that.
Right.
And then we've got another product placement sponsor, DrinkMate, out of Michigan, which is a sparkle anything drink maker. So if you're looking for a way to get off sugar sweetened beverages and all that kind of stuff, DrinkMate sparkles anything with a CO2 cartridge, no electricity, no nothing. So
I gotta get me one of those.
Yeah, and use the code RTV20 and you'll get it. So Ride the Vibe 20 and you'll get a 20%.
I'll follow up and make sure that will follow up. And we'll follow up to make sure that in the in the notes.
Get Cathead and
right.
Made in there,
Nick.
We'll
get all that good stuff in there as well. So
you're awesome to let me share those stories. I appreciate it.
Oh, absolutely. Well, it's been a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And, it's like, as we shared, we met at conferences, but you're there and you're talking about with a lot of people, and you're talking about there with the reason why you're there, and you don't get a chance oftentimes to chat as much as and really get to know people. So this has been, as I expected it would be. It's been as much fun as the shirt you're wearing.
And people just have to guess. This is Jam's World out of Hawaii. And I want to we talked about it, but I want to do it officially and formally on this. Extend the invitation to you to join me on Ride the Vibe. You got to pick 6 songs that you want to feature.
Yeah. And
we just cue them up, so to speak. And then that cues up the conversation about music, all things music. So we'll make it a dovetail with this.
That would be a lot of fun. I would enjoy that.
Thank you, Nicholas.
Michael, thanks again.
God bless, brother.
Stories from the heart, stories honest and true, the one, the only.